So, John,
Yeah?
do you know how Google came up with the name PMax?
No, how?
Well, they were in a Google Hangout talking about it, and one of the project managers was walking his dog, and he kept telling him to PMax, and they liked it.
You came up with that yourself.
You're darn right I did. You're listening to the Lion's Share Marketing Podcast, for marketing leaders by marketing leaders. Brought to you by Fidelitas.co. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another great episode of the Lion's Share Marketing Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Tyler Sickmeyer from Fidelitas, joined by John the Wizard Merlin, also of Fidelitas, coming to you live on video and audio. And John, we've got a great episode coming to our listeners today. Bobby Macauley, the Director of Performance Marketing at ALOHA, is going to join us in a minute. But first, John, what's in the news?
News team, assemble!
So, as you hinted to in your joke, today is all about Performance Max. Google's new replacement for Google Shopping Ads, Merchant Center, Google Search. All of those things are rolling into one called Performance Max. And while some people, whether you like it or not, this is going into effect September. So people are starting to switch over now, and everybody will be rolled over by September of this year. So that's pretty quickly. And there's a lot of, this is a brand new platform, so people have questions. We're pretty excited about it. I think the cool thing here is you get access to all of these different campaigns together all in one platform, and it's easier to set up. And you're letting Google's machine learning kind of put the ads up for you. So you will provide Performance Max all of the creative assets, text, images, videos. You'll give it your CPA and ROAS. You'll give the language and geo-targeting and any signals and audiences, your goals, budget. And then it does all the hard work of taking all of those assets and displaying it through all of Google's ecosystem, which is pretty cool. And it all tries to do that based off of your chosen goals and ROAS. So it should make it a little bit easier to set up to hit all those channels at once. But if you're on only one of those channels right now, soon you'll be on all of them.
Yeah, and the other takeaway from that, John, is if you didn't have creative issues before, you might now, because you have a lot more channels to fill. Right. And really, if you're going to be a good steward of the platform, you need to have great creative to fill all of the channels so that you can maximize the efficiency of your campaigns. And so that's one thing that I know we're focused on here at Fidelitas, is helping our clients maximize their creative capabilities in order to maximize the performance of PMax. Are we sure that it's really Performance Max, or did they come up with that after the fact? I still like the dog story, John.
You know, I can neither confirm nor deny that story. So
one might say the tail's wagging the dog, if that's what it got named. Yeah, in case you guys missed the dog jokes, they are back. The dad jokes, rather. The dog jokes too, but the dad jokes, they're back. We had a long summer break. We enjoyed it, but we're back. We've got more great content for you guys. Just like Google is back with more updates. Again, what's a podcast episode, John, without Google rolling out some new features? The nice thing is, as marketing leaders are looking for places to put their dollars other than Facebook, which if I go on about Facebook too long this week, I might have to censor the episode excessively. I've got a lot of not nice thoughts about Facebook, and we're going to keep the explicit label off of this episode. So I won't talk about Facebook anymore, but really for marketers looking for places to put their ad dollars, PMax is a nice alternative. I would encourage our marketing leaders listening in to test it. As with most campaigns, you can test with a relatively small budget, figure out what's working, what's not, and then optimize and adjust from there. But the old adage, always be testing, is certainly true today and as true as ever. But John, we've got a great episode with Bobby. Let's get to it. All right, guys, I'm excited to be joined by Bobby Macauley, the Director of Performance Marketing for ALOHA. Bobby, aloha, and welcome to the Lion Share Marketing Podcast.
Tyler, hello. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Bobby, why don't you start by telling us a little about ALOHA and all the things you handle there? I know it's much more than just performance.
Yeah, 100%. So ALOHA was actually founded in 2013 by a group of entrepreneurs in Hawaii, both Kanaka, which actually means Native Hawaiians and descendants from the Hawaiian kingdom, believe it or not, and Kama'aina, which also means Native Hawaiians, born in Hawaii. And it really started with the idea of, hey, let's use the idea of the Aloha spirit to spread, good food, good nutrition through awesome products and, well sustainably sourced ingredients, things like that, and came up with the brand ALOHA. And so with that, aloha is such a powerful word, especially in the Hawaiian language and everything it means. Literally, aloha does mean kind of the breath, like to exchange breath with one another. So obviously you often hear it as hello, goodbye, in most very basic meetings, even just kind of what we said here at the very beginning of the call.
Sure.
But it's so much deeper than that. It's such a powerful word. And that's why kind of the company here was thinking, hey, we can use this as something. One big thing with Aloha, and maybe I'm going to, for an introduction, I'm going to already go off on a little tangent. There'll be a few of these. But you open your phone book, you look at you go to Aloha, you're going to see everything. You're going to see Aloha concrete. You're going to see the Aloha dentistry. You're going to see the Aloha no matter what it might be. And, the founders of our company and kind of the group today that really guides our company and everything we stand for, we wanted it to be a lot more than that, which is really around the idea of just the Hawaiian culture in general. Everything is interconnected. It's all about how people are connected. The earth is connected, how we really should be great stewards of the planet and the earth, as people living on it. And we thought we had a great opportunity with food to do that. So through Aloha, we go plant-based ingredients, always certified vegan. We like to really support the farmers as much as possible with fair trade ingredients. And so it's fun, man. It's a fun company. It's, we've been on an awesome growth trajectory over the past couple of years. And we're starting to talk about that 9-figure range as a company, which for a private company is always very exciting, considering kind of where we've come from in 2013 through today. And to that, I'm the director of performance marketing and got an awesome team that I work with every single day, handling everything from creative to the media buying, and everything internally to get kind of the word out there about Aloha and spread the products and the love and, all that good stuff.
That's great, Bobby. And you've got a pretty extensive background in performance marketing, both brand side and agency side. Talk a little bit about what's changed in performance marketing since COVID.
Man, since COVID, so much.
I know that could be a whole podcast with that one question.
Yeah, that's it.
I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Since COVID, so much since COVID specifically. One, you had a lot of brands that right when COVID happened, so many brands were forced into the e-commerce space where they just flipped a switch and they said, hey, no matter who we are, we're traditional. And I'm going to speak more kind of in terms of consumer packaged goods, just because that's more of my background and especially what I'm doing day to day today. But a lot of these brands that were traditional grocery brands, COVID happened and you had to say, okay, we need e-commerce and we need it like this second. It has to happen right now. And so you had a lot of companies just flip the switch. All of a sudden they were direct to consumer brands, or I guess omni-channel brands that had a retail presence that everybody was terrified. Like beginning of COVID, right? How I was terrified to go to a grocery store. You'd see just the most ridiculous things. And you go into it and just, it's scarring. You get home, and for me and my wife, we get home and take our masks off, just, bend over, take a deep breath. We're like, oh my gosh, what was that? So grocery store was not a fun experience. And so, the brand, they switched on that go switch for direct to consumer. And especially at the very beginning of COVID, a lot of brands just saw sales straight up and to the right. That's where people were looking. Google searches for every well-known brand and whatever the product might be, shot straight up. You had people buying on direct-to-consumer company websites that had never had a presence in it before. And so a lot of companies had a really hot start without much marketing, without much advertising or anything like that. And then you kind of got used to it. People started slowly getting back into supermarkets and grocery stores or retail stores. They started, shifting away, and these brands started realizing, like, okay, now we've had that baseline. It's kind of dropped down a little bit. We've got to figure out advertising, whether it's social media advertising, Google search, whatever it might be, and kind of build up the company that way. And so you definitely saw a lot of that. You saw so much inconsistency and, CPMs, the impression costs that people were paying up, down, just all around as far as that goes. And then you kind of got into this period where, and I'm sure you've hit on it, and I've heard it so many times on this podcast, so many other podcasts, where what you run into is iOS 14.5 hit at like the sweet spot. It was like, I'd say June 2021, it was so many brands were like just finding their footing. They're going, hey, this is awesome. Like this is working for us. Everything like is going great. You're reliant on Facebook data. You're reliant on Pinterest data, Snapchat data, whatever else you might be doing. And you're making your company work that way. And
believe it or not, for the young marketers on this call, they may not know this, but at one time, those metrics were accurate, Bobby.
It was pretty accurate. Like you could build a company and rely on the ads manager data. And that was a ton of fun. That was easy. And, so many stories I could go into about that. But what happened, iOS 14.5 hit, companies I've talked to, ourselves, everything else, you really saw it like June of 2021. All of a sudden you're like, well, sales are still kind of happening. I'm seeing sales, but like, where are they coming from? Like Facebook ads manager is telling me nothing. Pinterest is telling me nothing. TikTok is kind of up and coming, and you're just seeing nothing coming from that. But what's awesome about that is, and this is where like just, the economy and to an extent capitalism and how it works so well, is that we adapted. Like we adapted, companies popped up out of that. There were already a couple that were doing it really well. If you look at like attribution platforms like Rockerbox and Wicked Reports, those are kind of the OGs. They've been around forever, and they like way ahead of iOS 14.5. They're the ones out there just like waving like, hey, this is coming. You need to get an attribution platform. And everyone's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. And then iOS 14.5 happened, and you've got a couple other ones now. You've got Triple Whale, which is an awesome platform. Very, very cool. You've got Northbeam. You've got a few of these others that have really stepped it up. And like since COVID to today, I'd say like with the introduction of these new attribution platforms that popped up because of iOS 14.5, with the introduction of so many new brands into the e-commerce world, it's really just made everybody become better marketers. Like we're really not looking at things on a platform by platform, or you shouldn't necessarily be looking at things on a platform by platform basis anymore. It's, hey, how is the ecosystem working overall? And that's always how it was anyways. But you were always kind of that last click basis. You're always looking at, okay, Facebook's taking credit for something, Google's taking credit for something, whatever else might be taking credit for a purchase. But now it's become so much more clear what that customer journey looks like, where you can say, hey, was this truly incremental through Google, or was it truly incremental through Facebook? Or is this something where overall, like that sale would have happened with or without it anyways? And you can now really map out that customer journey a lot better with the introduction of a lot of these pixel-based attribution platforms, like Triple Whale. So I'd say between now and then, that I think we've just become better marketers. Like if you're still around and doing it, you're a better marketer today than you were pre-COVID, no doubt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's a very good way of putting it. You either had to level up your game or get out. Like that's really what was forced on it. And as we sit here now, and again, I like to timestamp these sorts of questions for people that discover the podcast later and they're listening in 2024 and they're like, what are these guys talking about? So as of late August 2022, Bobby, what's working now in performance marketing?
Man, creative leads the way. I mean, that's really what it is. I'd say more than ever, and the economy, as it's going up and down and again, all around as you kind of see it, we really had this, COVID was crazy because we had this sweet spot where money got so cheap. You had this period where companies were laying off a ton of employees, and then they realized all of a sudden, like, hey, demand is kind of still there. We just laid off all these employees. And like, we need them back. Like, we got to hire people again. And like, there was a lot of money. Money was so cheap that we kind of hit, it was that fun sweet spot almost like, not to compare it to this because it's not like historically such a great period as far as company valuations go. But if you're looking like '08, '09, and kind of before the big crash, or 2000, where it was like a grow at all costs thing again, where it was, hey, people have money right now, companies and hedge funds and venture capital funds have money right now, like grow, acquire customers, as long as like we're at least break even or making a little bit of money, just go, go, go. And you had that period again there through like 2020, early 2021. And what we've kind of come into is, with some tightening fiscally by the Fed and all of that, where we've pivoted kind of back into that mode where profitability and your bottom line and EBITDA really matter. And so what's working now is like creative, making sure, one, I like to look at it as like a target. So you've got the bullseye. You've got the people that no matter what, you can just show them an ad of your product. And like at ALOHA, obviously I'm biased, but I love our products. They're great, USDA organic, plant-based protein. Just something that's very much in demand right now. And there's been a lot of education on it. So people are familiar with why they would maybe want these type of products, whatever it might be. But those people, they're right in the bullseye. So if you just show them an ad and say, hey, here's the product, here's our introduction offer, buy the product, they're going to do it. And that's the easy stuff. But where you really have to kind of like earn your chops, I guess, as a marketer is like that ring right outside of the bullseye. And those are those people that maybe they're familiar with something similar. Maybe it's, hey, I like whey-based protein. Maybe I like, quick snacks on the go, a Cliff Bar, like whatever it might be. And those are the people where the creative really needs to speak to them. That's not so much just see the product, buy the product. That's more that emotional hook. Like, what does their day-to-day look like? Defining that persona of 5, 6, 7, however many different people, and saying like, hey, here's what they really care about day to day. Here's what's keeping them up at night, what they're busy with, whatever it might be, and really understanding kind of the thought process behind that individual's day to day, and serving ads to them that they're going to really connect with, and then come through and purchase the product. And so that's it. And tying that back to kind of profitability, it's just that you have to be really smart where and how you're spending your money. So like incrementality is so important. You want to make sure that you aren't spending money and you always see this, and like Fidelitas, your team's great at not doing this, where like when you kind of team up with agencies, sometimes the first thing they'll do is like say, okay, Google brand search, and like put a whole bunch of money on brand search. And they're like, oh my God, you got a 150x ROAS and like all these things. And if you've got people on the team that don't know anything about it, they're going to look at it and be like, oh, we're crushing it. We're killing it. Or on Facebook, just retargeting, not like pulling any new audiences into it. And that's a danger that happens pretty often, where it wasn't truly an incremental sale. That person was probably going to purchase anyways. The difference is you just bought that purchase again instead.
Yeah. You just cut into your margins. Yeah.
That's exactly it. You cut into your margins, your CPAs go up more than they needed to. Those sort of things.
Exactly. Any favorite software tools that you're using right now that maybe everyone's not on yet?
Well, I think we're getting to the point where a lot of people are on Triple Whale. I love Triple Whale, man. Like that's kind of, if we can drop like names on this podcast, yeah. Triple Whale is a great one.
We can. And Triple Whale, if you're listening, we are 100% open for sponsorship. I just want to throw that out here too.
Yeah, and I don't have a referral code. I have nothing to give you on it, but Triple Whale, if you are currently relying on Facebook's internal data, definitely look into a Triple Whale. I've heard awesome things about Northbeam. I've gotten a few demos through them too. They're great attribution software. You need to be doing that. Like we're just at that point. You've got to know where your purchase is coming from. That really allows you to scale a lot smarter. And Facebook's still doing that thing where they can hold conversions for up to 3 days. And anybody really close is going to relate to this in the media buying world. But you wake up, it's always like 3 days later, you wake up and you have like $4 in ad spend and 30 purchases. And it's because Facebook just dropped all those purchases in at the same time, the first waking hour of the morning on the third day. And
isn't that what you screenshot for Twitter? That's what I do.
100%. That's how you sell classes. Like exactly.
What do you mean these guys are struggling? It's easy.
Yeah, that's it. 100%.
That's a lot of truth in that. And any reason why you went with Triple Whale over Northbeam? That's probably one of the more debated software choices both ways on Twitter right now.
Yeah, what I really liked about Triple Whale is they are clearly such great marketers themselves. And not that Northbeam isn't. It's just that at least on the channels that I'm on, and that's relatable to any brand and any world that you're going in, is like, if I was a heavy Pinterest user and Triple Whale happened to be a heavy Pinterest advertiser, I would say the same thing. But one thing, and it's amazing. I love that Twitter is free. It's amazing how much you can learn from just unbelievable media buyers and marketers on Twitter. And they've got that down. I mean, Triple Whale's team of marketers, their salespeople, everything they've got, they really give you that kind of feeling of FOMO that every brand wants, where it's like, hey, if I'm not part of this, I'm kind of missing out. And that's always a marketing lesson in itself, that when you're a marketer, you see that and you say, okay, if they understand that part of it, they're clearly super interested in making that successful and that idea successful for other marketers. And that's what really pulled me into it. Northbeam, and that's really all it is. I just, I got marketed to first by Triple Whale, jumped into Triple Whale, but still very interested in learning a bit more about Northbeam and some of the others there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's in full transparency, our clients are on Triple Whale as well. That's where we place people at the end of the day. And again, nothing wrong with Northbeam. It's just, I think it's almost like a Coke or Pepsi at this point. It's just wherever your personal preferences are. I'm not sure there's a discernible advantage one way or the other. Bobby, it seems like the game's changing so quickly right now. And again, as referenced by the fact that we have to timestamp everything. If you look at digital advertising as a whole, how would you go about training up a new media buyer today, given how quickly everything's changing?
It's being conscious of that, because everything is changing so much. And that's what I love so much about the digital marketing and advertising world, is versus any other career path in any other industry, I do think it over indexes in people who are kind of lifelong learners. Like, I think that is just something inherent to, if you've stuck around in this world for quite a while, as I know you have, and I'm a decade plus into it now as well. It's that you're always learning. You're always listening to podcasts. You're always going to conferences and shows, meeting with other people, and learning a lot throughout the entire process. And so how it is today is not going to be how it is tomorrow. And it never would have been, whether it's digital marketing, whether it's more Ogilvy day, like traditional marketing. It was always evolving, from the radio to the television to people, like the consumer, getting smarter and smarter, and you adapt to it. And that's just always the way it's going to be. And so if I'm training a new media buyer, that's really it. It's just invest in yourself. Agency is a great way to do that. And that's something personally, I've gone agency, brand, agency, brand. And I think any great marketer, you want to have both. Like, being mixed into both of them is one, very fulfilling. It's nice being on the brand side and really getting to celebrate the wins as part of the brand overall. But you're never going to learn as quickly and just as efficiently as you would on the agency side of things. Because with the agency, you have that benefit of working with so many clients that you get to see, like, hey, here's what's working for client A, here's what's working for client B. Weirdly, maybe it's not working for client C, and you can kind of adapt and change things and learn. And you can take all those learnings over to the brand side. And then, I'm sure I'll be back on the agency side again one day and kind of jumping back and forth. But that's all it is. Yeah, that's it. Learning the entire time.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep playing footsie for when you're ready to come back to the agency side.
100%. The Fidelis would be the one, I promise you. I love you guys.
Perfect. And by the way, in case you're drinking the Kool-Aid that Bobby's pouring, that's promo code Bobby for 10% off your
your monthly cost with Fidelis. Nice. Right on. I'll tweet that out.
Absolutely. Bobby, what are the most common mistakes that you're seeing in performance marketing these days?
I'm going to go with landing pages immediately. It shocks me how many people don't, value landing pages as much as they should be valued. Like, to me, an ad is nothing without a great landing page, just as a great landing page is nothing without a great ad. And it's not uncommon to see, if you've got that connection really perfectly intertwined, where it's not the same message for customer A, B, or C. And this is where you kind of go into more of the idea as, again, since iOS 14.5, since COVID, since everything we talked about a little bit earlier, so much targeting happens at the ad level nowadays. So it used to be you'd get very specific with audiences. You'd say, hey, this audience I'm going to focus it on mothers with kids who are age 0 to 6 months old. I'm going to target and test that against people who are interested in like this specific magazine, whatever it might be. And you'd be very, very specific and let it all kind of happen at that ad set or audience level on whatever network it might be. But nowadays, it really, what's working best for us and what I've seen working best for quite a few other people is really just going broad, just saying, hey, I'm going to set the audience literally to like broad 18 plus, male and female, whatever it might be, like doesn't really matter, or stack as many interests together as I could possibly stack together and just go extremely broad. So you put the ad out there, you got to have enough spend obviously for it to work right. But you put the ad out there, Facebook's going to test it against a whole bunch of different audiences. It's going to kind of find like, okay, these are the people that are relating best to the message and the ad that you put out here. And so that happens. And so say it's an ad, like if we're saying a plant-based protein bar, and maybe we have one specific ad that's more focused at hikers, like people that love hiking in their free time and whatever it might be. And they're clicking on it. If they end up on a landing page that's more specific to kind of that quick snack, that day-to-day hiking with a specific offer that really they can relate to and, tie back to, see the reason, like, okay, this is why I would use it. Here's other people like me using the product, kind of going that layer deeper. That's really how you win. So the ad gets you the click, but you really got to sell on the landing page. Like what's going to close the deal is the landing page. And I get really shocked at how many brands that I think are crushing it are just dropping people off on product display pages on PDPs. Like if they had a specific offer for customer acquisition on a landing page, if they're already crushing it, I couldn't imagine what they would be doing like beyond that, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like that line from the movie Django, right? Like at first you had my interest, but now you have my attention.
I love Django. Like I don't know if I maybe tweeted that somewhere, but that's actually like top 3 favorite movies for me. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that's an all-time classic. Another reason why I like you, Bobby. Bobby, what do you think is next in performance marketing?
Yeah, next for performance marketing, I have to say it's a good question because it evolves so quickly. Like it really does kind of evolve day to day as far as what's working, what's not working. And, you kind of roll with the punches as far as that goes. And that's like performance marketing is just like getting punched and then dipping and adjusting, not getting punched the next time until you get punched again. But there's such a mix. Like I love there's so many brands that are just kind of going next level with it. Like I love, if you're familiar with like the brand Liquid Death, who nowadays, like who wouldn't be, I guess, where you're just seeing they're tying kind of that awareness and conversion side of things together so extremely well, where again, it's getting you to kind of that idea of FOMO. And you're just like, if I'm not, it's water, it's literally water in a can. And I'm pouring water out of my filter in my fridge. I'm like, man, why don't I have Liquid Death? Like I need this stuff. Everybody cool has Liquid Death. And so
did you see they did that NIL deal with a water boy?
I did. See, like that's genius. They're doing that. They've got like I saw a taste test campaign that they did where they like blindfolded people. It was like the Pepsi challenge, but one was Liquid Death, water, and the other was like whatever the most disgusting thing you could imagine is, and they're blindfolded and they're like, so which one did you like better? Like, yeah, I liked the water way better than whatever that junk was I just drank. So. And it always reminds me of like, I don't know if you remember the really early truth campaigns, like the anti-tobacco ones. There was one with like Splode soda where the dude's like Splode and he's like on a bridge bungee jumping and he's like, this is Splode soda and like jumps off and just explodes because of the soda. Yep. They're like that as a brand, which I've always thought was pretty funny. But but what it is, it's building that community, right? And that's where you see a lot of brands doing that really well is that they've kind of tied that together because yes, you get the FOMO part of it, but at the end of the day, they're building a community, which also means you get a ton of first party data, which means that like, yes, you're kind of building awareness and pulling people in through the traditional advertising networks, but you're making sure that it's not a relationship in the sense of like, here's 15% off. Please give us your email address, like 100%. That's not so much what it is anymore. It's really building that sense of community and having data in a roundabout way through that. And that's what I think you're seeing the most successful brands do right now. And you're going to start seeing other brands kind of copy that and mimic it, where it's like that, hey, how can we be a Liquid Death? How can we be one of those brands where you really feel like you're part of something bigger than canned water at the end of the day?
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. And hit the nail on the head. It's how do we make this bigger than canned water? How do you make Aloha bigger than another protein bar? Right. And that's the thing, you have to tell a story and you have to connect with your core audience at the end of the day. And if you're not building that connection, then what are you? You're just a commodity, right? You're just a Costco version of Kleenexes or water or whatever, right? People don't pay for liquid death and pay a premium because it's in a can versus, the Costco 72 pack for a third of the price. They're buying it because they bought into the story that liquid death sold them at the end of the day. So I agree wholeheartedly. And Bobby, what's one key takeaway you would leave our marketing leaders with today in regards to performance marketing?
Key takeaway is test everything. Really at the end of the day, it's the most obvious performance marketing thing to say, but test everything again and again and again. And not just ads, not just creative, but the landing pages, the offer, everything that you're doing, continue to be testing, because before you know it, when you're continuing to test, you're going to keep adapting. And if it's a daily test, if it's a weekly test, whatever it might be, as things are adapting, and is what we talked about earlier, is that the future in performance marketing really does change on it feels like a weekly basis, a monthly basis. And as long as you're continuously testing, you're going to keep up with it. You're going to see, okay, this is where consumers are going. This is where what I'm hoping for and what our brand is doing. It's where it's continuously going. You're kind of going with the flow on everything. And so at the end of the day, that's it. Know your data. Profitability. I've got a few takeaways. Profitability is so important. If you're going to build a brand, do not forget.
You need to make money?
Yeah, do not forget about profitability. And you can do it, even though it's 2022 and we've talked the death of Facebook. And trust me, I love TikTok. TikTok's a great ad network and all of that. But we've talked about kind of the death of so many things. You can still be very, very profitable on Facebook, Instagram, on Google, using that combination of things. You just got to commit to testing and making it happen at the end of the day. Make sure your ads are right. Make sure the offer is right. And by offer, I don't mean 30% off, coupon code. I mean, hey, you're landing on this page. You came through on this experience. Here's what you're expecting to buy. We're just telling you, hey, buy this. We're not saying, hey, buy this or any of these other 30 things. To stay focused on the one thing to bring them into the brand. And, that's the pathway to success. It always has been. And it's just that part hasn't changed. So keep doing it.
Yeah. 100%, Bobby. I love it. And by the way, if you're looking to test a new agency in a shameless transition and plug, Fidelis.co. Check us out. We'd love to talk to you. Bobby, thanks again. This was awesome. Great to have you on. I'm hungry now. I need to go grab an Aloha bar before I go coach my kids' Little League practice tonight, but appreciate you coming on the Lion's Share Marketing Podcast.
Awesome. Hey, Tyler, so good to see you. Tell John hi for me, and I'll talk to you all soon.
All right, that wraps up episode 123 of the Lion's Share Marketing Podcast. Thanks again to Bobby for coming on and dropping all that knowledge about performance marketing. Thanks to John for bringing in a maximum effort performance. As always, we appreciate it. And thanks to you, listeners, for coming back from summer break with us. We're glad you're here. We've got more great episodes coming up, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, cheers.
You've been listening to the Lion's Share Marketing Podcast, brought to you by Fidelis.co. Get measurable results from a strategic partner, because winners keep score.